Jason stepped off the shuttle and entered the spaceport of Vera Prime, a busy trading planet at the edge of the galaxy. He had come here to deliver supplies, but the place was louder and more crowded than usual. Aliens of many shapes, colors, and sizes moved through the port. Some were tall and covered in scales, others short with glowing eyes. But Jason was used to aliens by now. He was a human among many species, just another face in the crowd. He walked down the metallic corridor, checking his datapad for directions. Suddenly, he heard someone call his name, Jason. The voice was soft, almost like a song. He stopped and looked around. The voice called again, closer this time. Jason, do you recognize me? He turned, expecting to see an old friend or maybe a human trader he had met before. But instead, he saw her. She stood in the middle of the crowd, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly under the station lights. She was tall and graceful, her hair flowing like strands of silk. Her eyes were violet and seemed to shine with their own light. Her face was beautiful, but there was something familiar about her that Jason couldn't explain. She smiled gently. It's really you, Jason. Don't you recognize me? Jason stared, confused. He was sure he had never met an alien like her before. Yet something in her voice and her eyes made his heart stir. He shook his head slowly. I'm sorry. I don't think we've met, Jason said carefully. Her smile turned sad. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. You don't remember, but I do. I remember everything. We grew up together. On Earth. Jason's eyes widened. Earth? That's impossible. You're not human, she nodded. Not anymore, but I was. Jason felt a chill run down his spine. He searched his mind, trying to remember anyone from his childhood who could match her. But there was no way. He grew up in a small town on Earth, surrounded by humans. There were no aliens back then, no visitors from the stars. Who are you? Jason asked, his voice low. She was about to answer when a loud alarm echoed through the port. Several masked guards pushed through the crowd, scanning the area with devices. The alien woman's eyes flashed with fear. She grabbed Jason's hand. They're here for me. I can't stay. But if you want answers, meet me at dock 9 before sunset. Before Jason could say another word, she slipped into the crowd, moving quickly and disappearing between market stalls. The guards rushed past Jason, chasing after her. He stood frozen, heart pounding. What just happened? Who was she? How could she claim to know him from Earth? Jason shook his head, trying to calm his racing thoughts. Maybe this was a mistake, a trick, or a dream. But deep down, something inside him knew that wasn't true. Her eyes, those violet eyes, felt too familiar, like a memory he had long forgotten. He walked slowly toward his ship, still in a daze. On the way, he passed a mirror panel. He caught his reflection but paused, because for a brief moment, he thought he saw the same violet glow in his own eyes. But when he looked again, it was gone. Hours passed, but Jason couldn't focus on anything else. He sat in his small cabin, staring at an old photo on his datapad. It was from his childhood back on Earth. There was him as a kid, smiling with another child, a girl. He stared closer. She had bright eyes, but the color was faded in the old photo. He whispered, Ilara? That name slipped from his lips like a forgotten song. Ilara was his childhood neighbor, his best friend. But one day, her family moved away suddenly, or so they said. After that, no one spoke of her again. In fact, people acted like she never existed. Jason had even started to believe she was just a dream of his young mind. But now, could that alien woman really be Ilara? Jason stood up, determination burning in his chest. He didn't care how crazy it sounded. He had to know the truth. And for that, he had to go to Dock 9 before sunset. As he strapped on his sidearm, he muttered to himself, If you're really Ilara, then I'll remember you. I promise. Jason couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the alien beauty with violet eyes who claimed to know him, claimed to be from his past. It didn't make sense, but her voice echoed in his mind like an old song. He sat in his small quarters, staring at his datapad, searching old files and photos from his childhood on Earth. Years of memories flashed by. Family birthdays, school friends, playground adventures. But in all those photos, there was always one blurry face beside him, a little girl with bright eyes. Every time, her face was unclear, as if time itself had tried to erase her. He whispered, "Who were you?" Then he remembered something. Old box hidden deep in his ship's storage. It had photos and keepsakes from his younger days. Jason dug it out and opened the dusty box. Inside, he found a tiny bracelet, old and fragile. He remembered this was a gift from a girl when he was just a boy. She said it was their friendship promised out her name. Yes, her name was Alara. Jason held the bracelet tightly. Alara. That was you, wasn't it? But how? Alara was human. That alien woman couldn't be her. Unless something changed her. Jason checked the time. Sunset was only an hour away. If he wanted answers, he had to go to Dock 9, just like she said. The spaceport. At dusk was quieter, but Jason stayed alert. He walked through the shadowy corridors until he saw a lone figure standing near Dock 9. She wore a cloak, but the glow of her skin and the shimmer of her violet eyes were unmistakable. "You came," she said softly. Jason kept his distance. "I want the truth. Are you really Alara?" She pulled down her hood. Her face was alien, yet her smile was warm. "Yes, Jason, I am." "That's impossible. I grew up with Alara on Earth. She was human." Her smile faded. She looked down, pain in her eyes. "I was human. Once, but I was taken." Jason's breath caught. "Taken by who?" "By those who live in the dark corners of the galaxy. A faction of aliens that visit planets in secret. They take children with special traits." "Special traits?" Jason asked. Alara nodded. "Like memory, empathy, resilience. They wanted to blend human traits with alien abilities. They experimented on me, changed me." Jason's heart sank. "Why didn't anyone remember you? Why did everyone say I imagined you?" "They erased me, Jason. Not just from the planet, but from the memories of others. Everyone but you. I don't know why. But you remembered. Maybe because of our bond." Jason clenched his fists. "That's why you called me here." She shook her head. "No, I called you because I'm being hunted again. They found me. And anyone close to me is in danger, now including you." Jason's instincts flared. He looked around, hand on his sidearm. "They're here? Soon?" Alara said. "I didn't just come to warn you. I came because I'm losing myself." "What do you mean?" She touched her chest. "The alien. DNA, it's taking over. My mind, my memories. I feel my humanity slipping. I needed to see you, Jason, to remind me who I was." Jason stared at her. This alien form, yet inside, the friend he once loved as a child. "I don't know how I can help. You already are. By remembering me." Suddenly, the sound of heavy boots echoed down the corridor. Shadows moved. Jason saw figures in black armor approaching, weapons drawn. "They're here," Alara said. Her voice tense. "Then let's run," Jason said quickly. But Alara stood firm. "No more running. I have powers now, Jason. But I need you to remind me who I'm fighting for." Jason drew his pistol. "Then stay close. I'm not leaving you behind this time." They exchanged a glance, a spark of the old bond between them. Then they turned and ran deeper into the station, the sound of enemy footsteps closing in behind them. Suspense hook for next part. What powers does Alara truly have? Can Jason help her hold on to her human self while enemies close in? The fight to survive and to remember has just begun. Jason pressed his back against the cold metal wall of the cargo tunnel. His breaths came fast, his pulse racing. Behind them, the sound of boots and static radios echoed. The masked hunters still searching. Ilara stood beside him, her violet eyes watching Jason, almost studying him. Jason whispered, "They're hunting you. But why? I need answers, Ilara." She sighed, her voice heavy with pain. "You deserve to know." Slowly she sat on a crate, her glowing skin dimming like a fading light. She looked tired of running, tired of hiding. "Ilara, how is it even possible?" "You were human," Jason said, struggling to understand. "We were kids, neighbors. Then you vanished." Ilara's gaze drifted to the floor. "I didn't vanish, Jason. I was stolen." "By who?" "By a hidden faction of aliens," she whispered. "They watched Earth for centuries, taking those they found special." Jason frowned. "Special?" "They saw something unique in human minds, imagination, memory, empathy, traits they lacked. They wanted to blend us with their own species to create the perfect hybrid. A weapon but with a heart." Jason's stomach twisted. "And you were part of that?" She nodded slowly. "I was their most successful experiment. They twisted my body, altered my DNA. I became stronger, faster but less human." Jason sat down opposite her, his voice rough. "Then how are you still?" "You?" She smiled sadly. "I kept one thing: they couldn't erase my memory of you." Jason felt his chest tighten. "Me? You were the only one who treated me like I mattered, even when we were kids. I held on to that memory. It kept me sane." Jason shook his head, his mind fighting between disbelief and wonder. "But why now? Why find me after all these years?" "Because they're coming again. They found me, Jason, and when they capture me, they'll wipe what's left of my humanity. I'll become their perfect creation." Jason's heart raced. "Then we won't let them catch you." Ilara looked at him, her eyes shining. "I'm losing myself, Jason. Every day I forget more of who I was. Faces, feelings, even your name almost slipped from me." Jason clenched his fists. "Then I'll remind you every second. I'll keep you human." A sudden vibration shook the walls. A mechanical voice echoed through the station. "Hybrid detected. Seal the exits." "Orders are capture or kill." Jason stood up. "We need to move." But Ilara didn't stand yet. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "What are you doing?" Jason asked. "I was changed for war, Jason, but I ran before I learned to use it. Now I have no choice." Jason watched as her body shimmered with energy. Strange patterns glowed on her skin like ancient symbols. The air grew warmer around her, a soft hum filling the space. Double quotes, ELARA. "What did they do to you?" Jason whispered. "They made me a weapon," she said quietly, "but my mind is still my own because of you." The door on the far side of the tunnel slammed open. Masked soldiers entered, their rifles humming with power. Jason raised his pistol, but Ilara stepped forward first, her voice low. "Stay behind me." With a wave of her hand, a glowing barrier formed in front of them, a shimmering wall of light and force. The soldiers fired, but the bullets dissolved on impact. Jason watched in awe. "You're incredible." "I'm still me, Jason. Don't let me forget that," she said. The leader of the soldiers spoke in a cold, mechanical voice. "You cannot run, hybrid. Submit, and your mind will be preserved." Ilara's expression hardened. "No." She unleashed a pulse of energy that knocked several soldiers off their feet. Jason watched, stunned, as she fought not like a soldier, but like someone trying to control power she barely understood. But as the fight raged, Jason saw the glow in her eyes change. The violet became sharper, colder, like the alien part inside her was waking. "Ilara!" Jason shouted. "Don't forget who you are." For a moment, she paused. She looked at Jason, her eyes flickering between alien and human. Then she smiled. Weakly. Thank you. Jason. The soldiers regrouped, more of them pouring into the tunnel. Jason grabbed her arm. We need to go. You're not ready to fight them all. Ilara nodded, her glow dimming. Together, they escaped through a side hatch, Jason leading the way into the maze of tunnels. But Jason's mind was heavy with fear, not just of the hunters chasing them, but of losing Ilara to the alien part inside her. The tunnels of the spaceport grew darker and narrower as Jason led Ilara deeper inside. The sound of soldiers faded behind them, but Jason knew they weren't safe yet. His mind raced, not just with escape plans, but with the image of Ilara glowing with raw energy. She was a living weapon. But she was also his childhood friend. The thought twisted in his chest. They finally stopped inside an old, abandoned maintenance chamber. The walls were rusted, the air stale. Jason locked the door and turned to Ilara. You should rest, Jason said softly. You're burning up. Ilara collapsed onto a crate, her body trembling, her glow faint but still visible. She looked at her own hands as if they belonged to someone else. It's getting harder to control, she whispered. When I fight, I feel it inside me. The alien part, it wants to take over. Jason knelt beside her. But you stopped it. You fought them, and yourself. She looked up at him, her eyes soft. Because you called my name. That brought me back, Jason smiled weakly. I'll keep calling it as many times as it takes. Ilara chuckled faintly. I wish it was that simple. Jason looked at her closely. Can you show me? Show me what they did to you? She hesitated. If I do, I might lose control again. I'll stop you, Jason promised. I need to understand. Ilara nodded slowly. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes. Her skin began to shimmer again, but this time it was controlled slow, steady. Strange lines appeared along her arms and neck, glowing like circuits beneath. Her skin. Jason watched in silent awe. I can manipulate energy fields, Ilara explained. I can create shields, blast waves, even absorb kinetic force. But every time I use it, I feel less. Me, she opened her eyes. They glowed brighter. But Jason still saw her human sadness inside. I wasn't meant to survive. Jason, I was meant to be a mindless tool for them. But my mind held on. My memory of us held on. Jason swallowed hard. You're not a tool. You're Ilara. You're still that girl who laughed when I fell off the treehouse. Her glow flickered like a soft heartbeat. She smiled faintly. You remembered that? Of course, Jason chuckled. You helped me up, and then pushed me again for fun. They both laughed quietly, the moment of peace cutting through the tension. But the peace shattered when Jason's communicator crackled encrypted signals, voices of the enemy still hunting. They're getting closer, Jason said. Ilara stood, her glow stabilizing. Then we keep moving. Jason grabbed his sidearm. I'll fight with you. Ilara placed her hand gently on his. I can handle the fighting, but Jason. I need you for something more important. What's that? She looked into his eyes. Keep me human, Jason nodded. I will, I swear. Suddenly, the walls shook. Explosions rocked the station. Soldiers had found their trail. Ilara's body lit up again, brighter than before. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. Time to show them what a hybrid can really do. Just remember me, Jason said quietly. Remember Earth, remember who you are, she smiled. I will. Then she stepped out, her hands glowing like stars as the enemy closed in. Suspense hook for next part. As Ilara unleashes her full power, will she stay Ilara, or will the alien force within finally consume her? And can Jason remind her of the girl she used to be before it's too late? The air in the tunnels turned hot and heavy as Ilara stepped forward, her entire body glowing like liquid fire. The soldiers who surrounded them hesitated, their weapons raised but their hands shaking. They had seen hybrids before, but none Like her. Jason watched from the shadows, his pistol ready but his heart sinking. Every time Alara used her power, he saw her eyes change, less human, more alien. She was walking the edge of becoming something she couldn't return from. But then she screamed, not in pain, but in frustration. The energy within her burst outward, throwing soldiers across the walls like toys. Sparks and dust filled the air. Jason covered his face, shouting, "Alara! Stop, you're losing yourself." She didn't hear him. Her violet eyes burned like two suns. Her body floated inches off the ground, her voice speaking in a language Jason didn't understand. Alien, cold, lifeless. Jason's throat went dry. He knew he had to act. Not with weapons, but with memory. He ran toward her, dodging the remaining soldiers, and grabbed her wrist. "Alara, look at me," he yelled. She didn't respond. The alien side was in control now. Jason's voice cracked, but he pressed on, his words pouring out in desperation. "Remember the treehouse? Remember when we climbed it in your backyard on Earth? You slipped and cried, and I gave you my lucky coin to cheer you up." For a moment, just a second, the glow in her eyes flickered. Jason kept going, his voice louder. "And you made me promise. You said, if I ever get lost, you'll find me. Don't you remember? You said that." Alara's body trembled, the energy around her shaking the walls. Her mouth whispered, barely audible, "Find me." Jason smiled through tears. "Yes, I'm here to find you, Alara. I kept my promise." Then her light dimmed, her feet touching the ground gently. Her knees gave out, and Jason caught her before she could fall. Her eyes, they were human again. Soft violet, warm, remembering. "Jason," she whispered, her voice fragile. "I'm here," he said, holding her tight. "I found you." The remaining soldiers watched in disbelief. They had expected a mindless hybrid, but instead saw a girl remembering who she was. And in that moment of confusion, Jason didn't hesitate. He fired shots, taking them down one by one. Alara shivered in his arms. "I almost forgot. I almost lost myself." "But you didn't," Jason whispered. "Because you're stronger than them. Stronger than whatever they put inside you." She looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "I don't want to forget again." "You won't," Jason promised. "I'll remind you every day, every hour if I have to." But before they could escape, a deep, cold voice echoed through the tunnels. "Touching, but it changes nothing." Jason turned, his heart sinking. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, draped in dark armor. His face was hidden, but his voice was familiar to Alara. She whispered in fear, "The scientist." Jason raised his gun. "He's the one who made you." She nodded weakly. "He's the one who turned me into this." The scientist chuckled coldly. "And I've come to complete my work." "You can't fight what's inside you, girl." Alara struggled to stand, but Jason held her steady. "No," Jason said, his voice steel. "She doesn't have to fight alone." The scientist stepped forward. "You think her memories will save her? She's already mine." Jason stared into Alara's eyes. "You're not his, you're not theirs. You're Alara, my friend." Her hand tightened around his dot, and for the first time, Jason saw a flicker of real strength in her human eyes, not alien power, but the strength of who she used to be. Suspense hook for next part. The scientist is here to claim his creation, but can Jason's love and memories keep Alara human during the final confrontation? The battle for her soul is about to begin. Jason stood between Alara and the masked scientist, his sidearm aimed but his hands trembling. The scientist's armor was smooth and dark, his voice cold like steel. "You can't protect her," the scientist said calmly. "She is mine. She was designed to be mine." Jason gritted his teeth. "She's not anyone's, she's Alara." The scientist chuckled. She was Alara. Now she is a collection of cells, of engineered perfection. Her mind is a glitch in the design. But I can fix that. Behind Jason, Alara struggled to stand. Her body was weak, her glow faint. She whispered, "Jason, I can feel him." In my mind. Jason looked back. Her eyes flickered between violet and silver. The alien side was waking again. The scientist raised a small device, its lights blinking. "This will activate the control I built in her. In seconds, the human side will be erased." She obeyed. Jason aimed his pistol. "You'll have to kill me first." The scientist smirked. "That can be arranged." Before Jason could fire, the scientist pressed the device. A high-pitched sound filled the air. Alara screamed and collapsed, her body convulsing. Jason ran to her, holding her tightly. "Stay with me. Alara, listen to my voice." But she didn't respond. Her eyes turned silver, her skin glowing too bright. She gasped, her voice robotic, awaiting ... command. The scientist stepped forward. "Good, now rise." Alara started to stand, her eyes empty. Jason's heart pounded ... No, Alara, listen. Remember the garden on Earth? The old oak tree? We carved our names on it. For a moment, Alara paused. Jason grabbed her hand, squeezing it hard. "You told me you'd be a space explorer. You said you'd take me with you. Don't let him take that dream away." Her hand trembled in his. Her lips moved faintly. ... Explorer. The scientist's voice barked, "Obey me." Jason yelled louder, tears in his eyes. "You're not a weapon. You're my friend. You're Alara." Suddenly, the glow around her shifted. The silver faded. Her violet eyes returned, wide and full of tears. I remember," she whispered. Then her body surged with energy, not cold and mechanical, but warm and human. She stood tall, eyes burning with will. The scientist staggered back. "Impossible." Ilara's voice was strong now. "You took my body, but you'll never have my mind." With a cry, she raised her hands, sending a pulse of pure energy at the device in the scientist's hand. It shattered into sparks. The scientist screamed as the wave hit him, his armor cracking. Jason watched in awe. This was Alara, not just a hybrid, but human will-made power. The scientist tried to speak, but Ilara's second pulse sent him crashing against the wall, unconscious. Breathing heavily, she fell to her knees. Jason caught her again. "You did it," he whispered. Alara smiled weakly. "No, we did it. You saved me." Jason held her close. "You're not alone. Never again." Suddenly, distant alarms echoed. More soldiers were coming. Jason helped her up. "We need to go," Alara nodded. "There's a ship docked nearby. If we reach it, we can escape." Together, limping but determined, they moved through the tunnels. Every step forward, Jason kept whispering her name, reminding her she was still human. She whispered back, "As long as you're here, I'll remember." The stars outside the ship's window blurred into long streaks of light as Jason steered them into hyperspace. His hands shook on the controls, but they were safe for now. Behind him, Alara lay on a medical bed, her breathing shallow, her body dimly glowing like a dying star. Jason sat beside her, holding her hand, unwilling to let go. Doctors on the ship worked quickly, scanning her body, trying to stabilize the chaos inside her DNA. They warned Jason in whispers. Her human side was fragile. She might not survive. The night. But Jason didn't leave her side. He held her hand tighter, speaking softly. "Hey. You remember the old oak tree, right? We carved our names, G+E. It's still there, I bet." Her eyes fluttered open, faint violet shining within. "Still there?" Jason smiled. "Yeah, I'll take you back. We'll see it together." She smiled weakly. "I want to remember everything." Jason wiped a tear. "Then keep fighting. Don't let the alien side win." Hours passed. Jason stayed awake, whispering stories of their childhood, their adventures, silly games, and dreams of space. He kept her anchored with memories, afraid that if he stopped, she would slip away forever. Then, as the ship sailed silently through the stars, Ilara's glow changed. The alien silver faded. The soft, warm violet returned. She opened her eyes. Fully, her voice stronger. "Jason." "I'm here," he said, his heart pounding. She smiled. "I'm still me." Jason laughed softly, relief flooding him. "You scared me." "The alien part is still inside me," she admitted. "But I chose to stay human." Jason squeezed her hand. "You did it. You fought it off. Because of you," she whispered. "You reminded me who I was." "Who I am," Jason chuckled. "You're still my neighbor, just shinier." She laughed weakly. "Weirdest reunion ever." "Yeah," Jason grinned. "But I'm not complaining." The doctors confirmed her condition was stable for now. She was still alien in form, but her mind, her soul, those remained human. They sat together, watching the stars from the window. "What now?" she asked. Jason smiled. "We go home." "To Earth, to that oak tree." Ilara nodded. "I'd like that." Jason looked at her, his best friend, the girl he thought he'd lost forever. But across the stars, across DNA and danger, she found her. Way back, together they looked out at the galaxy, knowing the fight wasn't over. The faction was still out there, still hunting hybrids. But Jason knew one thing: they'd face it together, because no matter how far the stars stretched, Ilara had chosen to be human.